bar that says loading, but I think it actually is already live. So every beginning of the stream looks like this. I'm just like, I look like an idiot. But confirming that the sound works. Yes, it does. Great. Gonna tweet and then get started. This is very, very exciting. Okay, tweet is in and people are filing in. Wonderful, good to see you. Friends. All right, welcome back to Attack the Pantry, friends. I am Jenn Vega. This stream is a deep dive into ingredients, cooking techniques, and recipes to help you cook for yourself during this horrible panini and the rest of your adult life. Last time on the show, we talked to my friend Ananda Gabo about chaos snacks, as well as her travels with culinary R&D, research, and development, and we learned some terrifying things about mountain leeches. You can watch all those past clips here on my channel if you click on videos. The entire archive is located at youtube.com/JENNDLV, and you can subscribe there for all the wonderful stuff. Great news, I'm a Twitch affiliate. If you have Amazon Prime, that means you can gift a subscription to your favorite creators every month. If you have one, click that purple button that says gift a sub, and you'll get a little crown next to your name in the chat. If you have actual dollars to spend, my goodness, I'm proud of you. But also you can use those to get subscriptions and cheer in the chat as well with some bits. There are tons of really great links below, but one really, really helpful way to amplify the stream, to help us out, is to tell people that you're watching right now, and you're going to learn a bunch of stuff so other people can join in on the fun with us here. So glad that we are getting started. I have a guest. Hello, guest. Who are you and what's your name? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Sean Ludwig. I'm the founder of NYC BBQ and the co-founder of the Smoke Sheet. NYC BBQ is a kind of a media project that I've been doing for 5-6 years, trying to talk about the best barbecue in New York and the Northeastern United States. So that is mostly Southern barbecue, American barbecue. There are a lot of kinds of barbecue, so just be very clear, mostly focused on Southern barbecue. And then the Smoke Sheet is a weekly national newsletter that I do with my co-founder, Ryan Cooper, AKA Barbecue Tourist.
Yeah.
Really cool dude. We actually met in line while waiting for barbecue in Texas, actually. So my co-founder and I are both originally from Kansas City, Missouri, which is a big barbecue town. And we basically just kind of hit it off. We're standing in line waiting for Snow's Barbecue, which is regularly regarded as the best barbecue joint in Texas. It is very, very good. So highly recommend going to wait in line in Snow's. But anyway, long story short, I've been doing barbecue media things for 5 to 6 years. I'm a full-time or whatever freelance writer. So my day job is, writing about business and technology, but my passion is about barbecue. So it's really great to be here and chatting about barbecue.
Yeah, you never know who you're gonna meet in line at the barbecue, really.
No.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Alex, for raiding the channel with a party of 8. Welcome everybody. Let's get some eggs in the chat. Please welcome my guest Sean, who is gonna talk to us about barbecue today. Sean, how do we know each other? We actually were a little confused about it earlier.
I mean, I think that we have run in the similar media and media and food circles for a long time. And we actually both used to live in Greenpoint in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And so you think about in terms of kind of living in similar neighborhoods and running into each other and that kind of osmosis. I think it's basically been a long time that we've run in the same, food circles and media circles. And so it's like, where did we initially meet? That first meeting, I'm like, I don't even know because it's been so long. Also, the pandemic broke my brain.
Yes.
So I don't remember things from a week ago, let alone years ago now. So thanks, pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's really funny you say that because we actually had a neuroscientist on the show a couple months ago, my friend Shannon Odell, and somebody in the chat, half joking was like, why is brain broken? and she was like, no, legitimately, we are not meant to be inside for this long. Like,
Yes,
we are
we've been
not.
inside too long.
And so it's totally acceptable for you to, have brain broken right now, just like me. Oh my goodness, we have so much activity in the chat. Everybody, thank you for those eggs. Hiccup Truck JV is in the chat, subscribed for 2 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got Toria, we got Gwem, we got Alex. It is Sean with a H. Sean, not no H's, friends.
Yes, thank you for that. And somebody also asked about barbecuing eggs, and if you allow me to just
please
throw
do.
something out there, I would
Please.
think that a smoked egg salad, maybe something like that, might be a good way to incorporate eggs. There's probably a lot of ways you want to incorporate eggs into barbecue.
Yes.
Barbecue tacos with eggs. Barbecue breakfast tacos.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you can incorporate eggs. So
yes.
But the first thing I think about was like egg dishes that are smoked or even grilled. You could put them on a grill, whatever. But I mean, that would be a lot of good ways to incorporate the two.
There are some really funny articles out there about grilling eggs directly on the grate. But the thing that I tell people is be careful with that direct heat, because eggs are super moist and could explode if they get too hot in there. They'll boil inside. Oh, yeah. Steaming and smoking are definitely the ways to go with indirect heat. Which is very exciting. But I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad everybody's in the chat and excited to talk about barbecue. What if I marinate eggs in liquid smoke? Toria asks.
I'll just say, as somebody who just appreciates like authentically smoked items, I generally don't like liquid smoke, but I would say maybe in a pinch, you'd be willing to experiment with it. Try it. See how it goes. If it ends up terrible, don't do it again. Just throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, so liquid smoke is actually made from real smoke. It is distillate from burnt wood. But the thing you have to know about using it, my friends, is it's very, very concentrated. So a drop of it is really all you need for an entire batch of marinade. So don't go pouring a whole bottle of it into some barbecue sauce. It's really only a drop or two that you need. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, we're going to move on to the next segment of the show, which is I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at what folks have sent in. Check out this background by Hexiosis, one of my favorite Tumblr artists. I love supporting digital artists of all stripes. But here are things that people have sent in this week. If you want to be featured next week, please do tag me on Instagram and Twitter at Randwiches. I forgot that I should get the chat on my phone so I don't miss anything from you lovely people. Sorry, 1 second. This always takes me a minute. All right, I've got it. I can see now. But yes, please send in your cooking photos, cooking memes, anything that makes you laugh that has to do with food. I'm into it. Let's check it out. So James from the UK sent me, is it a vaccine side effect or am I just old? I've been having a lot of those questionable, like, I sneezed. Is this the vaccine or am I just old? It's just allergies. But related to food, this one, I'm nauseous. Is this a vaccine side effect or was it that mac and cheese I had for lunch, even though I'm lactose intolerant?
Probably lactose intolerant.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that those symptoms really don't overlap. No. But thank you, James, for sending this one in. I needed a little bit of a laugh. This is my friend Augie. Jeff sent this one in. Augie is eating artichokes for the first time. Way more sophisticated palate than when I was 1 year old.
Same.
When was the last time you even had a steamed artichoke? I can't even recall.
I'm not a huge artichoke person, honestly. I mean, I'll eat artichoke when I'm at like artichoke pizza, but outside of that, I'm not eating a lot of artichoke. But I think like this kid though, Setting himself up for greatness.
I know, very cute. Lives in a foodie family, so definitely destined for
He's going to
greatness.
have a very advanced palate. His
Yes.
palate at like 4 is going to be better than our palates at like 30, you know,
Yeah.
like, he's like, what the heck?
I would say I was a pretty late bloomer when it came to food.
Same.
Yeah, I didn't really become a chef until my 30s. So thanks, Jeff, for sending that in. We always love seeing the kids enjoying food. JV, who's in the chat, this is your tomatoes and meat sauce. I actually was mistaken. I thought this was pasta, but looking closer at it, it's a bunch of vegetables. JV, are you in the chat? Can you tell us what's in your dish? All I know is that it looks very comforting with all of that Parmesan on top. You said yeet sauce. Okay.
Well, and this is some kind of meat in there, or is that some kind of veggie that's been pared down? I don't know. I'm like, I want to know what's in here. Yeah.
All right. JV says it's meat and veggies over rice. And we're getting,
nice.
Looks nice. Yeah. And with some tomato paste. I'm a huge proponent of adding tomato paste to things. And some potatoes. Great. It looks very hearty. And very proud of you for cooking mostly every night this week, I think. So thank you for sending that in. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Hearty bowl. Matthias sent this one over. John Lennon said in an interview, "My wife is cooking or boiling or frying eggs all the time." Did not know that. Sometimes she'll wake me up early in the morning and say, "Look at that nice egg I've made for you." And I have to get up and look at the egg. To be honest, me in the future, if I ever have a spouse, that's me. Definitely me. I will make you look at my egg that I fried for you. I won't bring it to you, make you come and look at it.
Although, I mean, technically, aren't we at the point where you would probably take a lot of photos of your amazing egg as well?
True.
And then you could just text it to them. Although, if you really just want to, force them to go look at your work, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I could text somebody who was like in another room, but that feels crazy.
Not anymore. Nothing
Not
feels
anymore.
crazy anymore. You just like, leave me alone.
This one was like a deep cut joke. I don't know if anybody in the chat has listened to the podcast Welcome to Night Vale. This is very deep cut. They had this whole storyline about wheat and wheat byproducts as a bit. And my friend Sky texted me this: Billy Hart, byproduct enthusiast. I guess this is a Twitter account that shares the like screenshots from newscasts and the really unique lower thirds. So byproduct enthusiast is a really funny thing, even on its own.
I'm like,
what do you do?
Was it a mistake? Did somebody accidentally write byproduct when they meant something else there? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's such a weird. It's a very strange.
If you think about like the 80s and 90s and how food science was used to like manufacture a lot of like the comfort foods that we like now. So like, for example, making cheese has a byproduct of whey. And what do you do with all the whey? People are doing whey powder, whey proteins, making vodka from whey. And so like, that's kind of what a byproduct scientist would do, but I don't know about a byproduct enthusiast.
It's such a weird caption.
It is a really weird caption.
What does it mean?
I don't know what it means. We're going to have to see if Billy Hart is still around and ask. Excuse me, Miss Hart. Can you please explain to us?
Billy Hart, if you are still living, please let us know what byproduct enthusiast meant. By the way, the Bard's Gambit is letting us know that texting a picture of food is hardly the same as seeing it for yourself. And that is so true. Thank you, Bard's Gambit, for pointing that out.
Agreed.
I think if you do create a work of food art in your house, and you should go get your partner and have them look at it.
Yes. Oh no, DeMarco is saying, give it away now. It's with the way, WHEY. Thank you for that, Danelle.
Give it away now. All right, thanks.
All right. Thanks everybody for sending stuff in. If you'd like to share your cooking photos, food memes, and other internet ephemera, please do tag me, Randwiches, on Instagram and Twitter. Let's check out what I've been up to this week. You ever go I mean, okay, so I have like a strip of Asian stores that I go to in Manhattan. I try to, I don't know, when I'm developing recipes, I try to get all that shopping done for specialty stuff in one day. And sometimes I find a lot of stuff at one store, but I need one more thing. And so I'm going to all the other stores and looking for one more thing. But I find the one thing and they have a credit card minimum. And then Jenn is like, well, I have to make the credit card minimum. And then like four pairs of socks later, potato chips and candy. I'm like, I've made the credit card minimum, but also spent like $50. So this is my haul from a Japanese grocery store the other day. I got both beauty products, socks, candy. Like, you know, they're so smart. They put the haichus all right there in front of the register. So I got like watermelon, kiwi, and green apple haichus, and just all these snacks I haven't had in a long time, and beauty products. I don't know. Does this happen to anybody else in the chat? You know, you go to the store, you need one thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, I have to make the credit card minimum.
I mean, I think it's always on purpose, right?
Yes.
They want you to, you to go like, oh, I can't just buy like two things. I have to buy a bunch of things, right?
I know.
But this is a good haul.
I mean, I haven't had a haul like that. I'm not a haul person, so this was out of character. But you know, I let myself for once because you know it was one of the few times I've gone to Manhattan in the last year. So I haven't been to Manhattan in like 14 months. So treat yourself, you know, treat yourself. Yes, those are Gudetama socks, everybody. Yeah, love Gudetama. This people on Twitter have been complimenting my apron all week. It is from a show called Bee and Puppy Cat. Have you heard of this show, Sean?
No.
It only had 2 seasons. It's a cartoon. It was on Cartoon Hangover, and it was the character designer from Adventure Time, Natasha Allegri, who had her own cartoon, and it's about this girl named Bee who gets fired from a job at a cat cafe, and so that's where the apron is from. And she meets a puppy cat who's an alien freelancer, and so she's jobless and needs freelance work, and so hilarity ensues. So I got to help with the launch of that show in 2014. They did a 24-hour live stream before Twitch was a thing. We did it all over Google Hangouts, and it was a mess. Let me tell you that. A mess, but really fun. And so that's where the apron is from, my friends. Yes, LT, Bee and Puppy Cat is a good show. There are 2 seasons available now that you can watch online if you check it out. Yes, there was a Kickstarter. That's true.
Where can you watch it online?
There is YouTube with season 1, and I believe the link for season 2 is in that bio. But yeah, it's via Cartoon Hangover or Frederator Studios, which was really, really cool. It has this really wonderful synth soundtrack as well. It's all twinkly and fun, but also kind of real life, you know, because she's a freelancer. Boy, do I relate to that.
Absolutely.
This was a cute meme that was going around, which was looking at the Peanuts comic strip that was published on your birthday exactly. So this was April 5th, 1984. And Charlie is throwing a ball. If this is a good suggestion, if a player makes a dumb mistake, I pull his cap down over his head. And so it goes over to Snoopy and bonk. I think that's kind of amazing because I'm kind of like that myself. Literally with hats, but also like when people make mistakes, I go bonk. I'm curious to see what everybody else's birthday comic strips are. If you tag me on Twitter and Instagram, I want to see. Yes, Bear Claw, my birthday is April 5th. And yeah, LT, Bee and Puppy Cat is kind of like that alternate universe of Fiona and Cake. I think that's kind of where the inspiration came from. Wait, we share a birthday? Oh, wow. Birthday twins. Oh, amazing. No wonder we get along. I love that. So I'm closing up a Japanese cookbook, which is very exciting. I'm turning it in this week. And I had to do a recipe for takoyaki. And I hadn't made them before from scratch. Sean, have you had takoyaki before? These
No, but this looks really interesting to me.
it's basically pancake batter with lots of stuff mixed in, and it gets all encased. And it's a different kind of cast iron, you know. It's got these like bulby half moon casts. And you pour the batter in, and then every 30 seconds you rotate at 90 degrees with 2 toothpicks. And so over the course of 5 minutes, you've rotated it into a ball that has fried into itself, which is really cool. It's like I want to see how else I can play with this format, you know, like cheese or like burn stuff on the outside. And usually on top there's like a sauce, like a teriyaki like sauce, and then bonito flakes that sort of wave at you when you eat it. But I feel like there's so many other directions you could take the format of takoyaki. We could do like a grilled cheese with like tomato and like marinara sauce and basil. Like that'd be super fun. Yeah, Alex. You have made it from scratch. It is not easy, but yeah, those condiments do make it. LT, you did not miss the barbecue. We are gonna get to it soon, so don't worry. Don't worry. Lastly here, I had a recipe for steam buns. They are adzuki bean and candied chestnut. But I didn't have any cupcake cups, like the paper cups. I was like, well, what do I do? I have tons of snow cone cups and I have tons of parchment paper. And so I put squares of parchment paper in the cardboard cups and then put the batter in, and it steamed up just nicely. So if you don't have ramekins or don't have cupcake cups, you can still steam cakes in a rice cooker this way, which was mind-blowing to me. Oh, Janelle kind of wants a shrimp takoyaki. Wonder how that would work. It's pretty much the same thing. It's pancake batter, and you peel the shrimp and cut them into 1/2-inch pieces, and then you put it in the middle, and then cook it up as you would, because as that batter cooks, it's going to cook the shrimp on the inside, so you don't really have to bar cook it, which is very cool. Less work. So let's start talking about barbecue. We have some photos that you sent over, Sean, but can I just ask you, you said you've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. How did you get so obsessed with barbecue in the first place?
It's so funny. People ask me that question, and I'm not exactly sure where it begins, but I've constructed effectively where I think it starts.
Sure.
And I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, which is a barbecue town. But being from a barbecue town doesn't necessarily make you a barbecue expert. It just can make you a barbecue fan because maybe you've eaten a lot of it or you've had a lot of good stuff. So I moved to New York about 11, maybe even 12 years ago, because actually now we're into May. So maybe about 12 years ago. And I was only here for about 5-6 months, and I started to really miss barbecue. And so I began like kind of a journey, like a personal journey to go try good barbecue. I also didn't really know that many people, so I don't really like that moving to New York thing.
Sure.
I don't really have anything else to do. So one thing was to go try like good barbecue places. And so the first barbecue place that I actually tried was Hill Country Barbecue in Manhattan.
I've been there.
That was one of the, that was one of my first introductions to Texas style barbecue. Because I was from Kansas City, which is a very different style from Central Texas barbecue, which is very kind of the barbecue du jour of the moment. Like when people talk about barbecue now, and
brisket.
You talk about brisket and beef ribs and all this other stuff is about, that's like Texas barbecue. And just taking it back, I started seeking it out. And so once I became this kind of fan who would be going and seeking out the best barbecue places, eventually I was kind of like, why don't I just like start writing about this and sharing my barbecue pictures and stuff like that. So I don't know when I started my account on Instagram, my NYC BBQ account, but I was shocked that NYC BBQ wasn't
available, yeah,
on Instagram. So I took that and I started, this is probably about 6 years now, regularly posting the best barbecue that I was going out and eating. And I would post other food too, but primarily barbecue. So going to the best barbecue restaurants, going to barbecue events. And then eventually, about 2.5 years ago, I started a newsletter that's all about a local barbecue. And then shortly after that, I started a newsletter all about national barbecue. So that has forced me to keep up on things even more than I already was. I was already obsessed and already going and trying all the best barbecue, and taking pictures and posting on social media and whatever. But then writing about it and interviewing people about it, that is a whole nother level of just going to some places and posting pictures.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of people who do that, take the pictures, like Instagram people who do that, but you're really like cultivating a whole community now, like with all of the information that you've been disseminating. It's kind of amazing. Oh, Alex had a question that was called Hill Country Barbecue in Manhattan. That was the first one.
Hill Country Barbecue Market is still there.
Yes.
I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to, especially if you're in Manhattan. There's only a few good barbecue places in all of Manhattan. Unfortunately, the pandemic did barbecue no favors, by the way.
I know.
So Manhattan got hit really hard. Good restaurants got hit really hard in Manhattan. But Hill Country Barbecue in Midtown Manhattan on 26th Street, highly recommended as a sort of a taste of Central Texas barbecue. If you can't go to Central Texas and go to Austin and some of those places and actually have the barbecue there, Hill Country will give you a true taste of it.
Yeah. So you have a bunch of pictures that you sent here. Where do we want to start?
What if we talk about one of the best barbecue, like newish barbecue places in New York City? So we'll start about New York City and then we can talk about other stuff too. But Juicy Lucy Barbecue.
Okay. I was very curious about this.
So this is, brisket and ribs, Texas style. And so this place is very interesting. I think that when it first opened, this was just so amazing. You must go try it because they had a pitmaster who was from Austin, and he had worked at Franklin Barbecue previously. Franklin Barbecue, for anyone who knows anything about barbecue, is kind of like the one where everyone goes and waits in line. I waited like for 4 hours in line.
4 hours
at Franklin Barbecue to eat. But they had a guy come in from Franklin who helped them get started. So especially when it first opened, it was really amazing. Then I think the pandemic, kind of became not really sure the direction it's going to go. But I think all the sources I have is post-pandemic, they're coming back and they are getting their A game back. And this is important. They just won the Brisket King NYC competition
for the
second time. So they are known for their brisket. This has never happened before because usually people don't compete a second time after you win the Brisket King competition. But they were just like, yeah, we want to make sure people know we're back. And the pandemic kind of, hurt them and hurt a lot of places. And so they have very good brisket and ribs. I definitely think they're Staten Island. So this is interesting too.
Oh, really?
Staten Island doesn't have, that many barbecue restaurants. I mean, they have a few, but, if you like barbecue, if you're in, Brooklyn or Staten Island or New Jersey or whatever, and you want to go try it out, this is a place to check out. And it's one of the newer places too, because when I mentioned Hill Country Barbecue earlier, that is an old school that's been open since 2007.
Yeah.
Been around. People know them, but a lot of people don't know Juicy Lucy. By the way, we have a question about, do they sell Juicy Lucy's? Yes, they do. They do sell Juicy Lucy.
They actually do. Too. Oh, yes, awesome.
So don't worry. If you really want a burger, you can get a Juicy Lucy burger. Yes.
Catching up in the chat, Danelle says, I used to go to Fettisau a lot. Yeah, I remember, when I was hanging out in Williamsburg a lot, like people would always want to go there. And I love their bourbon collection at Fettisau.
I mean, I would say Fettisau used to be a much bigger deal than it is today. Now, Fettisau, when it was, like on the mouths of every barbecue whisperer, it was the jam. People would wait in long lines to go eat at Fettisau, and now it's kind of like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean, they're still
reliable
open.
place.
They're still
If
open.
you lived really close to there, well, you mentioned their bar program. I think that is, to me, the thing that stands out the most now is going and get some barbecue and go try an amazing bourbon from their
Yes.
collection. So that is
Mhm.
where it's kind of differentiating itself, kind of. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Toria, yes, this wallpaper is also from Hexiosis. I have like 100 wallpapers and they rotate every 15 minutes. So look forward to this changing pretty often. Um,
Juicy Lucy is located in Staten Island in New York City.
okay, good. You
By
got
the
it.
way, yes, from Singy.
um, so like tell me about like the experience of eating, like what sets this brisket and these ribs apart from, like, why did they win?
So I think you really have to think about, it's really the brisket, and really great brisket is usually very moist and has a little bit of a pink smoke ring on the outside. Um, Really, if you want to get the most out of your brisket, it should be thick slices of brisket. Thinly sliced brisket, unfortunately, which is where I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, is thinly sliced brisket, and it dries out so
It dries out so
fast.
quickly. Yes.
And it's this brisket is such a difficult piece of meat to cook. You've got to spend 16 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours
Yeah.
cooking a brisket to get it right, depending on the weight. And it can only take, you cut some slices up, you set it out, and it could take only a few minutes before it's no longer good. So it's almost like you need to serve it quickly. If anyone ever says, hey, would you like me to pre-slice your brisket? No,
No.
absolutely not. I'll slice it myself. I'll warm it up and slice it up, because letting all those juices out, all that moisture out, I think it just damages it, so where it loses a lot of flavor,
Yeah.
and all that fatty goodness. And if anyone ever says, this is another about brisket, if anyone says, would you like moist or lean? Moist. Go
Moist.
with
Always moist.
it's fattier and juicier, but there's just so much more flavor in that fat that's rendered into the meat, and there's just so much more flavor. Now, sometimes it can be good lean, but it's going to be better
Over on the
moist.
moist side.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what is so unique about brisket. For those of you who don't know, brisket is a big beef cut, and it's got this iconic fat cap. And so the way that you use that fat cap to your advantage is over that slow smoking process. The fat is raining down basically all over the roast, and that's kind of what you need. You can't flash cook a brisket because that fat will get gummy and chewy. So you want to do low and slow, and that's why barbecue really fits the brisket very well as like a cooking technique. And so you'll see it's kind of upside down. So if you look at the brisket line here, that bottom, you see the bottom crust, and then underneath that is that fat cap that has melted down into the meat, which is very exciting.
And the traditional rub on the outside for most of like Texas is just salt and pepper.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that sticks out a lot of places, because that means your meat's got to be really, really good if you're just putting salt and pepper on the outside. So I know that I've heard from a lot of pit masters in even Texas. They're like, yeah, that salt and pepper thing. Like, some people do that, but most people will add another few things in their rub. But it's the traditional Texas style is just salt and pepper.
Simple is best. Simple is best. Alex had a question. Are Juicy Lucy's from Chicago? I actually don't know.
They're no, they're from Wisconsin or Minnesota. The sort of the
close by.
north. I mean, no, close to Chicago, but that's where they originated. So I think it's a Minnesota origination. At a bar there, and then a lot of other bars around the country basically took that idea and ran with it. And just the naming, I don't think they liked the name Juicy Lucy Barbecue, so they just like that name, and they do sell a good Juicy Lucy burger as well.
I mean, yeah. Amazing. Staten Island. I had no idea.
There is actually a surprising big food community in Staten Island. And there's a barbecue event. If anyone here is in the Northeast or New York or New Jersey, there's a big barbecue event on May 29th in Staten Island that I will be at called the Five Borough Picnic. And then part of the Five Borough Picnic is Rib King NYC. So there'll be a rib competition. So anyone who is in that area and wants something to do on May 29th definitely needs to come. You can read about it in nycbbq.com.
We will share all those links in the chat.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to go next here on our
let's do one more NYC and then we can go. Let's do the wings at Pig Beach.
Yeah, Pig Beach, boy.
Pig Beach is a great barbecue restaurant in Brooklyn. It is it's got a little bit of everything on its menu, but I always tell people to try the wings. Get the wings as one item amongst many. But these are their hatch vinegar wings.
Hatch chili.
Yeah, so they're a little spice and but it's really about flavor to me. So they're not. I wouldn't say they're too overtly spicy or anything. They're just the right amount of heat and flavor. And I just love wings. Although, do you know about the wing crisis?
No. What wing crisis?
Chicken wings are so expensive now. They're almost like
they are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't buy a lot of wings, but
I guess not.
Restaurants are struggling to buy wings now because they're too expensive.
I had no idea.
Meat prices in general have inflated drastically in the last year. But wings have gone up, and I think because comfort foods have become more popular.
True, that is absolutely true.
Barbecue, soul food, comfort food have all become more popular. Therefore, wings. But talking about these wings, these are just great wings, and they also do a special. Typically, they'll do dry rub served with a side of hot honey wings, and so you can drizzle hot honey on your wings. And so those are another item from Pig Beach that I recommend if you just basically get all the wings, but get their burger and get their brisket. I mean, really just try everything. It's good.
I think it's been over 1.5 years since I've been to Pig Beach, but the last time I went, I feel like they have a fishbowl cocktail, like a gin something.
Probably.
I definitely drank that.
They have a very good bar, so I don't know every single item on the bar, but
a bucket drink.
Also, anyone tuning in from Southern Florida, there is now a Pig Beach in Southern Florida as well.
Wait, really?
There's a hometown barbecue and a Pig Beach all in the Miami Southern Beach.
No
South Beach
way.
Area. So
that's really funny.
NYC BBQ is invading Florida as well.
Seven bean salad says every condiment tastes better when drizzled. I tend to agree. Dipped or drizzled. Toria asks, got any barbecue veggie suggestions or best ofs? I know that's not really the focus on barbecue, but
I don't think I shared any with you, but if you're specifically asking about some barbecue veggies, I think that you can smoke almost anything. So that includes vegetables. So I don't see why I would consider anything smoked to be barbecue. So that includes veggies. So, I mean, you can smoke, name a veggie, you probably can smoke it up. So
my favorites are whole heads of mushrooms, so like a whole head of the woods or a whole flush of blue oyster.
Mm-hmm.
I like smoking tomatoes, and most recently I smoked, maybe for 2 hours, I hickory smoked carrots whole. And then when you cut them, they've got that cute smoke ring, just like your brisket does.
What do you think about like elote, like smoked corn, where you put probably like mayo and cheese and stuff like that on it. But I would consider that in the barbecue realm as well. So
yeah, I tend not to cook corn very long if it's really good fresh sweet corn, because you're just meant to have all that sugar on the bite,
What about, but if you do low and slow, right? You just make sure you're not giving it too much heat, right? But yeah.
Gwem asks, do you consider direct heat cooking to be barbecue, or should it be smoked? I think this is a big distinction in the community, that Direct heat is tends to be grilling,
Yes.
considered to be grilling, but some barbecue starts with a sear
Yes.
on high
And
heat.
I think that generally speaking, we would call most direct heat cooking, especially like on a grill, to be called grilling. Anything where you're using a smoker, we would call that barbecue.
Yeah.
And that's fair. And no qualms with anything. Any live fire cooking is great.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I mean, the unfortunate thing is, I think that sometimes the art of things like barbecue can get lost when you're just using, like a gas grill or something, where you're taking out some of that extra flavor. But I think you can still do a lot with whatever you've got. You just have to get really creative with your tools.
Yeah. I've been reading about some of the new gas grills that have like wells for that smoke to be able to, continue instead
Yeah.
of getting a big mess down there with wood chips in the gas tank. Gwem also asked, what's an easy and quick way to get into smoking on a Weber? Now, I have a little introduction to this in my book, which is called Showdown. I use a very, very simple chimney starter. So I go to the hardware store, I have a chimney starter. You light a bunch of paper on fire underneath it and then fill it with a bunch of coal. Once the coals are gray, a lot of people put the coals on too early. We want them to be gray. We don't want them to be screaming hot. You can use that time to grill things with direct heat cooking, but for actual smoking and long-term cooking, we want the coals to be gray. The night before, you should have soaked, wood chips of your choice in a bucket of water. So I like hickory, I like cherry wood and almond wood, but you can get wood chips from the store. And then every 20 minutes, you put a handful of those chips on the coals, and then you keep all your food on the indirect side, the cold side of the grill. So all the coals are gathered on one half where you're doing all the smoke stuff, and then you're keeping the food on the other half so that when the smoke rises, it goes around the bell and then hits your food and then comes out the vent in the top lid when you close it. And that can be up to an 8-hour affair if you're doing meats. But vegetables really can only take 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how thick the vegetable is. That is my shorter version.
Well, one thing I would say, of course, people should be getting your book, number one. But there are a ton of Weber, getting started with Weber cookbooks.
Yes.
And I would just get a cheap one. You know what I mean? There's a ton of them out there. Get one of these, even used, whatever, and just really start messing with a few of those recipes. I hate to say it, but like a lot of the barbecue cookbooks have a lot of similar, themes, ideas, techniques. Get one that's really simple and try out a few things. And then once you're like, maybe you're leaning in a certain direction, then go buy a few more books that, kind of meet what you're into.
Mm-hmm. Meet what you're into.
Yeah. Pun intended. Mm.
These wings look delicious. Are you a drum or a flat person?
I generally go for the drum, but I will eat anything. So, like I'm good. I'll eat either, but I gravitate toward the drum first usually.
I think I was a drum when I was a little kid, and then as an adult, I think I prefer the flats. I don't know why.
Do you know like that technique, where you like pull it out and then there's oh look, it's all the meat just fell off.
Yeah, BD Wong has a wonderful video about this. He's wearing a suit and he's like, here's how to eat wings like an adult.
Yeah.
Gwen has a follow-up question. Are there cuts of meat that would be smoked quickly? I love brisket, but 8 hours is a lot to spend. I mean, brisket doesn't necessarily have to take 8 hours. But
I mean, wouldn't you say ribs is kind of the ultimate, that you can do pretty decent ribs in 2 to 3 hours?
2 to 3 hours, yes. I agree.
And I think that a lot of people, they'll gravitate toward that because not only do they look, like a big rack of ribs just like looks good and it's, that all this meaty goodness, but it just doesn't take as long,
Yeah. Yeah.
You can smoke wings. You could
Yes.
easily smoke wings and they only take an hour. You can do that. Yeah.
Upgrade turkey leg, like a carnival turkey leg. I mean, it would take maybe 30 minutes more, but yeah, turkey leg is summer treat, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I did it 2 weeks ago, actually, as a recipe test, and it was really fun.
You really could. There's any meat out there that you're like interested in can pretty much go on the smoker. So
yeah, I would say though that you just think about surface area and the size. So ribs are flat and have a lot of surface area. Brisket is one large unit.
Yes.
So anything that's cut smaller will smoke quicker than brisket.
Yes.
But boy, is it worth it though when you cut into that brisket and that fat cap has rained down.
Well, this is one thing that you think about as it's like a prize, right?
Yes.
It's like something you really have to work toward to really want it. And then when you perfect that method, it's like a big reward to be like, oh my gosh, I did this.
I mean, that's why I sort of spent 8 years on pulled pork. Like I've mastered this recipe, and it just feels so good, because now it's like clockwork to me. Like I don't think about it like, oh, I have all this work to do on the pulled pork. I'm like, it's done.
It's like a go-to.
It's my go-to. Yeah. Definitely my go-to.
That's great.
Anything else about these wings or Pig Beach that you'd like to share with the group?
I mean, this is a funny thing to just mention, but I'm actually going to get married at Pig Beach, actually.
I didn't know that you could do that.
I mean, yeah, we got really, really lucky. Like we basically hashed out some details before the restrictions started lifting. And so we were able to get a deal basically to be able to get our wedding there. So that's very exciting. So it'll be a barbecue wedding. But Matt Abdu, who is the kind of the lead chef pitmaster there, is a classically trained chef who used to work at Del Posto. So not only
in good hands,
is he a fine dining, Italian focused chef, but he's also a barbecue pitmaster who's won numerous awards. So he can do it all.
That's amazing.
Pretty cool.
And it's really funny you're doing that, because this is like across the street from one of the wedding venues that everybody uses, which is 501 Union. I've catered there a bunch of times.
Yeah. And we definitely thought about it, but that's really pricey. And we were trying to be pandemic minded. It's all indoors.
Yeah. Pig Beach is outdoors and scattered. It's a lot of facility for that, which is really cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We have a question from LT. What's the oddest food you've eaten or seen barbecued?
In terms of unusual menu items, or maybe not totally unusual, but a few standout items are like the lamb belly banh mi sandwich
from hometown.
Outstanding. I'm sure you've had it.
Yes.
Fantastic. And well, I guess, I don't know. I don't see lamb belly on any barbecue menus. I mean, lamb is rare as it is on a barbecue menu, but lamb belly on a barbecue menu and then transformed into a banh mi sandwich. I mean, I wouldn't, once you have it and it's like so delicious and flavorful, it's not odd, but it is like, you might look at that on the menu and go, what?
Yeah.
And this is also an interesting one that I had, and I'd highly recommend it, is Leroy and Lewis barbecue in Austin, Texas. Instead of focusing on brisket, the prime cut is cheek. It's beef cheek is the prime item that they care about. Then that is fantastic. And I wouldn't call it odd. It's just a little different and delicious. It's so good.
That's so cool. Well, thank you, LT, for that question. For me, I've eaten smoked alligator before, which was exciting. But I actually don't remember it very much. So
alligator, I've had it a few times, and I've had it smoked or whatever. It's not that, alligator is not that different from eating like, I mean, I know it's like kind of like chicken, but I would say it's just a little gamier than chicken, but it's it's not that crazy of a meat, actually. It's actually like lighter than I expected.
Where would we like to go next on our barbecue tour?
Why don't we just do a quick mention to this cornbread really quickly?
Oh yeah.
So
This is a bold claim. Bold
this is
claim.
cornbread from John Brown Smokehouse in Queens. It's more like a cornbread pudding than cornbread. So
Ooh,
to me, a big sin for cornbread is that it's just dried out and
yeah.
it's lacking in flavor. And by making it a little more moist and a little more gooey, and then of course the edges are burnt, it's more like a little bit more of like a bread pudding.
Yeah.
And I think all those flavors, there's real corn in there too, but it comes out being so much more flavorful. And I guess I've had so much blah cornbread, and seven bean salad in there agrees with me that a lot
Yes.
of cornbread is meh. It's true. A lot of it is. It's like, I wish, you gave this to me as a side and it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
But this is a side that is clearly, they thought through this and decided this will stand on its own as a great side dish that everyone's going to want every time they go. So if you ever go to John Brown Smokehouse, get the burn-ins, get the
Ooh.
cornbread. So
Ooh.
burn-ins are cut off of, just for record, cut off of the brisket, and then they're smoked and sauced for longer. So they're just a little more smoky, a little more crispy, very delicious. Burn-ins, definitely get them if you see them on barbecue menus. But then if you're at John Brown Smokehouse or anywhere in Queens, definitely stop by, get the cornbread, get the wings, and the burn-ins. Try whatever you want on the menu, but definitely get the cornbread. It is my favorite cornbread in New York City. Who knows, maybe the world.
I want to try it now. And
very good.
When I discovered corn pudding, I made it all the time as like a snack. Because it's cream corn, jiffy cornbread mix, and heavy cream and some other things. This looks a little bit more done on the edges, and I think I want to eat it so badly. But it is something that I like.
This would probably have more texture.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and so I think you talk about, like a traditional corn pudding. I don't think would have. It would be kind of mushy, right?
Yeah, it's more scoopable.
Yeah.
This is more fork.
Yes, fork, definitely. It's delicious.
So cool. Catching up in the chat here. LT says, for me and being in the South, it was barbecue nutria rat. Oh, the big rodent. Interesting.
Very interesting. You can smoke anything.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. You can smoke anything. Where should we go next?
Why don't we do Skylight Inn? So
this one.
This is in Ayden, North Carolina, and it's been open since the 40s. It's been there forever. It's like a blast from the past. You walk in this place and it feels like you've gone into the 40s or the 50s. And it is just old school. There's a guy in the back with two giant
cleavers.
Cleavers, basically, just chopping. His name is Chopper. Is his name. And he's chopping whole hog up. And so this is very old school, and I love it. And I think like this is really dense, kind of like I don't know if it was really cornbread, but kind of like a cornbread on the top there. But this is kind of their classic item, and this is what they're known for. And this is North Carolina is one of the barbecue kind of enclaves. Obviously I talked about Central Texas and Kansas City, North Carolina, South Carolina, also a lot of very good barbecue there as well. So definitely if you're down near, I want to say it's like Goldsboro, Greensboro, all that area, Raleigh, definitely check out Skylight Inn. You get a chance.
I am a huge fan of North Carolina style barbecue because it is very close to Southeast Asian barbecue. We do a lot of whole lechon in the Philippines. I've grown up with it at every family occasion, every religious sacrament, every graduation and birthday. We've always had a whole pig. And a lot of our barbecue sauces are vinegar based. So did this one have like a vinegar based sauce, or was it?
Yes, the sauce and the seasonings that go with the pork are vinegar based. So
Yeah.
it no, and this is, I mean, you're totally right about that kind of similarity there. And the traditional North Carolina sauce is vinegar based, but there's other regions in North Carolina with different styles, but the kind that people latch onto and are kind of known nationally is the vinegar base.
Yeah.
So I don't want anyone from North Carolina being, excuse me, where's my mustard representation?
Oh, I love the mustard one too.
Right? So they, there's different styles in the state. I understand. I'm not, I've been doing this longer, than just, than yesterday. So yeah.
I had a really lovely mustard sauce before. It was more of like a thinner like mop sauce, and it had like chicken bouillon in it.
Okay.
So it's like super savory.
I never got a good, I don't know why I never got a good taste for mustard, but I think like a lighter mustard, very light with the barbecue is fine, totally good. But when it's really thick and heavy and just kind of mixed in, I just kind of like, I'll take it without it. And then if I want to add it on. Now that's actually good practice generally for barbecue, by the way. Anyone out there, if you think your barbecue should come and it's sauced already, you may be missing out, because you should be able to try it on its own, and it should be able to stand on its own without any sauce.
Yeah, you want that smoke and that and the quality of the meat. You don't really get that if the sauce is already slathered all over it.
Yes, unfortunately, my hometown, Kansas City, a lot of things come pre-sauced. Now they're getting better about that because they've learned over time. People are like, no, my sauce is on the side. I want to try it without it. Then I may add sauce on later.
Sauce politics. I love it.
It's very important.
Where should we go next on our barbecue tour?
I feel like
we have these.
We probably could. I mean, now these are just, I might have sent these just because your randwiches, because these are just great sandwiches that I had like in 2020, basically. So one is the Nashville Hot Chicken from Emmy Squared in Brooklyn.
Woo! Look at that.
It's very good on a pretzel bun. Very good. It definitely was hot, but not so hot that it killed me. Now I have had hot chicken in Nashville, and it did destroy me.
Yes, me too.
The medium. I just had the number 3 or the 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be fine, and it just knocked me out. So I definitely, this is a really great sandwich, but I think just kind of reminds me of saying that like hot chicken is not necessarily part of the barbecue conversation.
Right.
But Nashville and Tennessee are very big barbecue places. So sometimes I might throw them in there too. And you can smoke hot chicken too. This is a great sandwich. If anyone wants to, try to shake up their taste buds, get some Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go get this soon. Making me very hungry. I did have Nashville hot chicken, and I was eating it, and I was like, I'm fine. I was that meme of the dog going, this is fine. And then like maybe 2 hours later, I couldn't lie down because I was like, my tummy, I was just like, oh, my tummy's too hot. I can't lie down, or like, I'm just gonna like acid reflux everywhere. It's just gross.
Nashville hot chicken is just
good though. It was worth it. The pain.
It's such a dangerous item because you don't know exactly how hot you're gonna get.
Yeah.
If you get like the 6 out of 6, you're gonna die. But you get the 3, you think you're gonna be all right. No, you're not gonna.
I love that. Gwem has a question. What about smoking cheese? How to prevent it from melting?
All right, you want to take this one, or should I take this one?
Yeah,
cold smoke, right?
Yeah, it's cold smoke. Yeah. So there are some tutorials online about how you can cold smoke, but basically it is indirect, and you want to keep the cheese in on a metal baking sheet so you don't lose that whey. Because if you've got that whey leaking down, it could flare up the fire in some way. But I tend to pick sturdier cheese. So like a whole mozzarella ball versus a ricotta, which is very soft. You can still smoke it. It's just ricotta is very delicate and benefits from being super fresh and wet. But yeah.
Would holy cheese be good cold smoked, because maybe you would get more coverage and maybe more inside? I don't know, like, would a smoked Swiss be any good or not?
It would be good, but those holes do not go throughout. Those holes are formed as the cheese is aging. So they're like little fat globules inside the cheese.
Yeah.
And as it dries out and evaporates, it kind of weeps, it cries.
Okay.
So that oil comes out the skin of the cheese, but then they're left these holes inside. But the holes are not tunnels. They're just like little bubbles in there.
Well,
But
smoking
yes,
cheese, definitely something to mess around with. Yeah.
but yeah, cold smoking and indirect is what you would work with, and then putting it on something because you're gonna catch all that whey, and then the whey will be smoked so that you can put that in broths and sauces. You can use that byproduct in some other way. But yeah, good question, Gwen. Shmas, welcome back to the chat. Glad to see you. We are talking about barbecue. Okay, so I feel like we had a sandwich, we had another sandwich.
This is very simple, and I know it's not traditional barbecue, but it was definitely one of the best Italian sandwiches that I ever had, from a place called Roma in it's like upstate New York. I'm trying to remember now what which town, Saratoga Springs.
I mean, it speaks to a part of my heart that is very New York. It looks like a classic Godfather, which is all the Italian meats. Probably some vinegar and oil in there, salt and pepper, shredded onion, shredded lettuce. The bread looks amazing.
I mean, this everything was a knockout, and this is the kind of place where it's got like a kind of a deli thing, and they expect you to also know what you're ordering, like when you get these snappy.
Yeah.
And I think it just speaks to its popularity that they have like 2 locations, and this place just is always busy because the sandwiches are so good. So if you're ever up that way, go to Roma, get a sandwich. And then you'll be in Italian sandwich heaven.
I'm a huge fan of Italian sandwich. The longest one that I've ever made was an Italian sandwich. I made it a hoagie, technically a hoagie because it was in Pennsylvania. I made a 15-foot one. Nice. That was like this, but the bread wasn't as crusty for us. Ours was softer because it was Pennsylvania Dutch like bakery. Nice. But yes, I'm a huge fan of sandwiches. If you didn't know, friends in the chat. And then I think this might be your last one that you sent me.
Well, and this one makes sense. This is actually, I mean, it's a good photo of me. It's a pretty decent photo of me. Like, this is probably about as good as it's going to get. But basically, this was at a barbecue festival in 2019. A lot of barbecue events were canceled in 2020 because of the pandemic, naturally. But a lot of these events are coming back this year, so that's really exciting. Actually, I just did an event roundup of barbecue events in my newsletter, The Smoke Sheet. So you should check out the Smoke Sheet at bbqnewsletter.com, whatever, just check it out. If you like barbecue events, we have all of our events listed there. But I think what's so cool is that barbecue events can let you try a bunch of different kinds of barbecue and styles of barbecue. Especially these bigger ones. There'll be like 20 different vendors there or whatever, and you can try the different kinds. But the Windy City Smokeout is a really interesting one because the barbecue selection is so good. This is in Chicago, if you couldn't tell from the name, Windy City. This is in Chicago. The barbecue selection is better than almost any other in the country. But most people don't go there for the barbecue. They go there for the country music. That's what it's about. It shocks me. Well, except if you're a big barbecue fan that lives in the area, you might go for one day and it's like, well, I don't really care about the music. I just want the barbecue. Just go for one day and try a bunch of the different places and try the different barbecue. And there's so many from all around the country, from Texas and the Carolinas, Kansas City, et cetera. They're from all over the country. But that is a really neat one in Chicago. And there will be a lot more happening this year. And so, if you're interested in barbecue events, check out the Smoke Sheet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for sharing all of these. This was like a wonderful little tour of of all the barbecue spots.
Yep.
Now people can see our giant heads, and I can go
Yes.
back to the chat. I'm gonna share the NYC barbecue Instagram link in the
Please
chat
do.
for everybody. And then smoke sheet.
I appreciate,
We're gonna get
thank
that
you
link
for
also.
sharing the NYC BBQ and the smoke sheet goodness. Yes.
Also, I was in the newsletter once, which was
You were.
cool.
We featured your cookbook.
My cookbook and my my pork patty melt recipe. It's like an updated version. And I love the lead in that you had about it, which was a tribute to diners that were, kind of suffering during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
That's definitely how I was feeling. Like, I can't go anywhere. I want to go to a diner. Like the simplest thing. I want to go to a diner, but how can I like recreate that at home? And then as soon as I'm able to go back, I am going to diners and Waffle House and all the barbecue places. Let's see, friends. We've got some time here. If you have any other barbecue questions, Sean and I are here to help answer them. And I feel like, wow, you gave us a lot to like think about. But I have a question for you while we wait. Is what's kind of the wildest setup that you've seen?
I guess, I guess you mean in terms of
the actual like barbecue smoking, like at an event, like, like, I mean, I know a lot of it is major, right? Like,
I mean, I've probably seen it all, because sometimes people will just bring a giant smoking rig with, 1,000-gallon smoker, on the back of like a truck or whatever. That's kind of a big thing. I've seen people do like whole, I've seen like lambs on spits before, that kind of thing. I've seen, just about every kind of barbecue setup you can imagine. Some people just do the simple grilling setup, or maybe you finish on the grill. We didn't really mention that earlier, but, I think about that kind of blend between barbecue and grilling, that sometimes you'll finish on kind of a grilling style. So, I think that's really important too. But yeah, I've pretty much seen it all. I don't think, I guess I'm like, you ask about crazy, but I feel like I've seen like all the stuff that I've seen is just like mountains and mountains of meat. I'm like, how much, what's not crazy in the world of barbecue?
That's true. That's true. I'm a huge fan of finishing my ribs on the live fire. I do a peanut curry slow barbecue, pork ribs, and then we cut them and finish them on the grill, which is really fun. Because I like the extra caramelization it gets on the outside. We get that Maillard reaction for extra crispiness, and fat, and yeah, got to get that crispy outside, right, Schmas? Right. LT, I do not remember the Queen's Bully. Can you please remind me? Flo Main
I can mention what Queen's Bully is. It's located in Forest Hills. It's a little bit more of a bar and restaurant than a barbecue joint. And I would if you live in that area, definitely go check it out, see what you think. But in terms of like seeking out the best barbecue in New York, I wouldn't call it like one of the top 5 barbecue joints in New York. It's a fun place to go, get drinks, have fun, and try the food, see what you think. I mean, there's a lot of good barbecue places, but I don't think there's really any in that area, like Forest Hills, Queens area. I'm struggling to think of a barbecue joint specifically in that area that would be like blow your mind. But Queens, but if you live anywhere nearby it, go check it out, see what you think.
I'm closer to it than some of the others. LT says, if you could vacation in 3 locations just for the barbecue, where would they be? I love this question. That's great.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go with the first one, which is really obvious, which is Kansas City. Go do it. My hometown, Kansas City. But Kansas City is just a great a surprisingly great place to visit. But I would do a big barbecue tour there, and I would hit up a lot of the classics, Joe's and Arthur Bryant's. There's a new school place called Slaps, which is fantastic. Slaps.
What a good name.
And then there's new school places like Heart Barbecue and Chef J Barbecue, new school craft barbecue, more inspired by Texas with their own kind of ideas of what barbecue is, and very good. And so there's a lot of new school and old school in Kansas City. Definitely recommend it. Next up, Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Austin, Texas, what's so interesting about it is that for density of barbecue places, there's more there than almost anywhere else of barbecue places and good barbecue places. And something like Franklin Barbecue, which I might have mentioned earlier, it's a place where I waited 4 hours in line, which I've never done anywhere else to do. I think, well, I've waited for concert tickets more than 4 hours, but not barbecue. Barbecue, that's the longest. So you can go somewhere like Austin, Texas, and you could spend weeks trying to go eat at barbecue places in that area. And there's barbecue places within an hour of Austin as well. So if you draw this kind of circle around Austin, it's not just Austin. So Snow's Barbecue in Lexington, Texas is about an hour drive outside of Austin. Snow's is regularly ranked as one of the best in the world and the best in Texas. And it's only open Saturday mornings.
Oh.
That's it. So you basically, you're eating barbecue at like 9 a.m. or whatever, but it is fantastic. So definitely go to Austin. I think I'm really struggling on what my third one would be, because it's like, do I throw Memphis in there? Memphis is a great barbecue town.
Never had the barbecue from Memphis.
But then I'm also struggling because you've got places like places in North Carolina and South Carolina. I'm going to actually say Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow.
Because you've got Rodney Scott's Barbecue, you've got Home Team Barbecue, you have Lewis Barbecue. There are so many good places. And Charleston is just a great place to visit. Just generally, it's a beautiful place.
I've never been. I want to go so badly.
It's a beautiful place with a fantastic food scene. So, Jen, I think it'll be up your alley.
Yes.
So I definitely would say people are going to disagree with me on everything, but those would be three quick picks.
Yeah, your quick picks.
Yeah, Kansas City, Austin, Charleston. Go check them out.
Amazing. Guam says, what about other countries' barbecue styles? Any favorites? For me, I will tell you.
There's so many, but please.
There is so many. I don't know if anyone has seen Korean Pork Belly Rhapsody on Netflix. We were just watching it with my Patreon movie club or TV club. There's some in-ground whole hog in Korea, which is really cool. They layer it with Korea leaves, which are sesame leaves, and then cover it with salt, and then light the fire below and above it, and it smokes like for 12 hours. It sounds incredible. I'm a huge fan of Vietnamese barbecue, which uses a lot of the vinegar sauces, sweet chili, Thai chili, a lot of pork. And Filipino barbecue, which is also a lot of pork. And then some unique marinades, which are like 7-Up or like Coke, using a lot of sweet, sticky things to marinate chickens, because refrigeration wasn't really a thing for a while. But now we have refrigeration, which is great. But those are kind of my favorite international sort of styles. Like, Sean, do you have any familiarity with some international types?
I was just going to mention in New Jersey, there's a huge Portuguese barbecue scene because there's a big Portuguese community there. And so that is a really interesting one in that it's a lot of hot and fast. It's not like low and slow. But there's I think a lot of pork like as well as part of that as well. Pork and beef is pretty much the centerpieces. But I think it's because I've spent so much time focused on American barbecue and Southern barbecue that I haven't gone crazy for the different ones. But I mean, I've eaten a lot of Korean barbecue because of there's a lot of Korean barbecue restaurants in New York City. So as somebody who's lived in New York for a long time and greatly appreciated being able to cook meat in front of you, I mean, how do you not enjoy that experience? Yeah. Especially if you're a meat lover, cooking some of that in front of yourself is very fun to me.
Yeah.
So, Korean barbecue, delicious.
I know, me too. Catching up in the chat here. Add Memphis to the list. So far, we're going to Waffle House in Memphis. True, LT, we're doing it. Danelle says Peruvian barbecue. Yes. Stairs in the best cuisine in Spanish. I agree. Argentina has unbelievable barbecue. My goodness, everybody. We're going to take this last question from Toria. What should I try on my home barbecue? We already said ribs earlier. I mean, if you're going to put together like an all day menu, sort of, or like an all day afternoon hangout, like Sean, what would you say are like the items you should try at home?
I think that you definitely should, if you're doing it at home and like that kind of strategy, you're doing a party, you might skip brisket. I think brisket's something that
Too
you
long.
work on, unless that's something that you're doing and like it's coming out when you're doing your party.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you basically have to be up all night with that sucker.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, but I was gonna say lean more toward the ribs, and you actually can. We didn't mention this earlier, but burgers that have been smoked, I think,
Ooh, those
can
will go
be
fast.
really good. So it's not just grilling them, but doing a little bit of indirect heat and smoke as well, and then maybe finish them with
The reverse.
that. And I think that definitely you'll get a lot of fans with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a
So,
smoked burger. That is like class.
we didn't really mention sausage either, but
We didn't. Oh my gosh, sausage
there's a
is
lot
so
of good
easy.
sausages out there. So why wouldn't that be also part of a good home barbecue setup? You could do some smoked and you can do some grilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yum. So I think we have time for our last segment here. Well, while we get it set up for that last segment, do you have thoughts about Alabama white sauce?
Generally, I like Alabama white sauce. I mean, you've probably had it, right, Jen? Just it's a kind of a mayo base, but
mostly on chicken.
it's I like it. I'm not like a huge mayo proprietor. I don't want to like just eat gobs of mayo, which I know some people out there, but you do you. But it's actually pretty good. It's like got spices and its own kind of flavor that is distinct. Definitely good with chicken. Weirdly, I feel like I've tried it on other items as well, other meats as well. And I think you could, if you like it, why not? Try some of your other meats in it as well. So, but it's its own distinct taste. It's its own thing. So, it's unlike any other barbecue sauce.
I just shared a link in the chat for Serious Eats recipe for white barbecue sauce if you want to try that at home, my friends. But it's time to pretend we're on Chopped, my friends. If you don't know this TV show, there's this basket with 4 mystery ingredients in it, and chefs have to use them to make a dish. In our case, you, the chat, will tell us what's in that basket. So please shout out an ingredient for us to put in there, and the first 4 will be the ones we use. Please be quick about it. There are no wrong answers. The purpose of this exercise is to think about how far your ingredients can go and maybe inspire your next meal. I'll go through each of those ingredients individually so everybody knows what you're working with, but just feel free to start spitballing. Tell us how you combine 2, 3, or all 4 of the ingredients. There's no pressure whatsoever. Imagine that you have a basic pantry and all the tools and time that you need. Just remember, feature the things in that basket. All right, what do we got, friends? A pre-prepared brisket. That's funny. Okay, yes. Thank you, Gwen. A pre-prepared brisket. Schmas with a cherry pie filling. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
LT with barbecue flavored chicharron. And then Leah with the artichoke. Oh, the artichoke. Oh my goodness.
Man.
Okay, so I'll go through the 4 ingredients just very quickly. We talked for a while about what brisket is, but for those of you who are just joining us in the chat, it is a large meat cut that if it's pre-prepared, that means that it's been smoked already. And so ready to slice kind of a situation. It's got a fat cap, usually has a salt and pepper crust. It's kind of like a big triangle because there's a wider, moister end, and then there's a leaner, pointy end. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it. It might be a little more rectangular than triangular, but yeah, the one side is a little smaller, but yeah.
Cherry pie filling. Are we talking schmoss about the canned stuff? That is cherries that are sitting in a sort of not gelatinized, but more of a cornstarch slurry. So it's already in a thickened state. It's got bits of the big cherries, but with lots of sugar in it already. Yeah, straight out of the can. Thank you for that. I love this curveball. It's very good. But it's ready to go. It doesn't need to be cooked. Just know that it's very high in sugar content. LT has thrown in a bag of barbecue flavored chicharrones, which is incredible. Chicharrones, if you don't know what they are, is deep fried pork skin. So the pork skin is very moist when it's coming off the animal. What you need to do is dehydrate that sheet and then deep fry that. That's also the same secret behind rice crackers. So it's a rice slurry that has been dehydrated into a sheet and then deep fried, which is very cool. But just the constitution of chicharron is it's powdery, it is absorbent, it is a keto alternative for bread, actually. So we can use it in a lot of breading situations if you'd like to think about that. And then artichoke, we've had this on the show a couple times, but the basic preparation is traditionally you would steam it. And then those leaves you pull off and scrape your teeth on them, and you get a little bit of the artichoke heart. But once you get all the way down to the center, you have to scrape out this the choke, which is this hairy purple thing. And then you're left with this very, very tender artichoke heart. Which can come jarred. You can get it yourself in vegetable, but it can be stored in vinegar, in water, and in oil. It's a great condiment. It can fry very well. It can deep fry. It can also be pulverized into a paste and used as a spread. So there's a lot of possibility there. The other part was the arti and the choke. Yeah, the choke is the inside. Now, I don't know what the base word of arti is. But anyway, those are our four ingredients we're working with. Friends, start brainstorming and tell us what you would make with a pre-prepared brisket, cherry pie filling, barbecue flavored chicharrones, and an artichoke. My goodness. Sean, are you having any thoughts or questions about it?
I was just going to ask, are we allowed to use anything? Are we allowed to use seasoning with this?
Yes.
Or I was going to say,
you have a pantry. Okay. You have a pantry. Just feature the stuff, though. Just as long as it's featured.
I was going to say the first thing that I thought of, which was I would use the chicharrones as a base, kind of almost like nachos. They're the bottom. And I would use the cherry pie filling and some salt and pepper and spices, actually. So a little bit of sweet and savory on the kind of the bark of the brisket. So you'd have a little bit of sweet and a little bit of savory on the brisket. And then we would slice the brisket and the artichoke up, and we would put them on top of the chicharrones, and we can take them and pick them up. And we've got slices
like a little nacho.
Kind of, but like a very weird nacho, but with a little bit of brisket and artichoke on top of the chicharrones. I actually think it would come out really interesting. It would probably be a very strange mixture of sweet and savory, but not as long as you didn't go overboard on the cherry pie filling. As long as it's kind of used lightly, it probably would come out very tasty. So what are you thinking about?
I can tell you the Brooklyn Bowl has a chicharrone nacho.
Oh, well, I've never had it.
Over there. Yes. I know that they have it there. Thank you for following, Chill Girl. Welcome to the chat. In the chat, we've got some comments here. Toria says, please combine the cherry pie filling and brisket. Also need a spoon. Yeah. Shmas has an idea. I feel like we could do great barbecue taco. Make a sweet barbecue sauce with the cherry pie filling and sear off the brisket with that. Maybe make an artichoke salsa verde and add the chicharrones for a crispy topper. That is a fun direction to go in. I
love that idea, but I was like, we're missing something that creates like a taco vessel. Unless you were using, well, this is a crazy one, but what if you thick sliced brisket and use that as your taco vessel? You know how like the KFC did their like double down.
Yeah.
The meat was the bun.
We can have a brisket double down.
Brisket as the bun.
Meat taco.
Meat taco, exactly. So
I love that. No,
brisket, thick slice of brisket, and then start piling it up with with artichoke, chicharrones, and maybe just a little bit of the cherry pie. But I feel like it would work. It would be, I mean, I just don't go too overboard with the cherry pie filling. It could be over, it could be sweet and overwhelming. All right, what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking we could make a flour out of that barbecue chicharron and make tortillas from that. Because we got rendered off fat from the brisket. That's your more fat plus the pork rind. Yeah, I'm thinking like adding like corn flour to constitute the tortilla, and then that's like another vehicle that we can have for tacos or tostadas or even like another kind of nacho. But that was what I was thinking. I was thinking about using the chicharrones as flour to make things. What else? So we've got brisket again, cherry pie filling, the artichoke. Oh, okay. What I was thinking. So one of the ways that we can approach this is thinking about other dishes you already know how to make and then swapping in one or two of the ingredients. And so I was thinking, like, what if we had a drink? What if I did a brisket fat washed whiskey with like a cherry, like we dilute that cherry into like a cordial situation. So we've got like a fat washed like whiskey cherry drink. And it's not like usually I default to a Bloody Mary whenever there's.
I was gonna say stuff. I think you could. I usually that was the first thing I thought of was Bloody way, Mary,
but I was like, no, we're gonna fat wash some whiskey with the brisket and have like a whiskey cherry situation. Like I don't know what that's called. I don't know if that is called anything.
Seven bean salad suggested a brisket.
A brisket Manhattan. Yes,
that's good. That's really.
I'm into that. I'm so into that. Like very into that. My goodness. A man fatten. Thank you, Schwartz. A man fatten.
That's very good.
Okay, so I feel like there's other directions we can go in, like maybe breakfast. What can we do for breakfast?
Can the chicharrones become flour or something like that for a waffle?
Oh, we did a savory brisket waffle, like chunks of brisket in there. Because I've definitely had a Belgian waffle with chunks of pork in it.
With a cherry pie barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Like just light, but drizzle on the top.
Yeah. We could make like a spicy, like go in the direction of hot honey and do a spicy cherry syrup.
Spicy cherry syrup. Excellent.
Spicy cherry syrup. That's good. That's good. Savory waffle with spicy cherry syrup. That sounds fun. So breakfast, a drink, and a sandwich. Have we thought about a sandwich yet? I mean,
how thick can the artichokes be? Could you use artichoke as like bread, sort of? Is it? I'm like, it's not big enough, right?
No, artichoke hearts are very small.
I was gonna say, I don't think you can. A slider.
Oh yeah, you could do little cute sliders.
You know,
because the choke is like a little disc-like thing, and then it has a stem. So
I'm not sure of it.
We could do deep fried artichoke heart as like a bottom of something, like a canapé.
Yeah.
And do like a vinegary, like a gastrique with the cherry, like vinegar and cherry as like a finish for like just this cute little tapa of brisket on an fried artichoke patty. That sounds fun. Shmas says maybe dice up the brisket super fine and do stuffed artichoke with chicharrone. There you go.
That's very good. Very good.
There you go. There you go. That was a good direction to take it. Well, friends, this was a really good exercise this week. Thank you for throwing us those curveballs. Sean, can you tell the people how to find you and if they can reach out to you about more barbecue questions?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the easier ways to find me is Instagram, NYCBBQ on Instagram, but nycbbq.com is where all my writing about New York barbecue and Northeastern barbecue is. And then bbqnewsletter.com is my national newsletter. So no matter what part of the country you're in, you can read about barbecue from all over. And we even mention international things as well. So anyone out there who's like, oh, I like American barbecue or whatever, we do mention events typically in other countries as well. So we're thinking globally, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to have you here on the show this week. Please, everybody, follow Sean and NYC Barbecue. I have Patreon links and Etsy links to support the show below the video here. If that stuff isn't possible, like my Venmo, PayPal is also here, or just follow me on Instagram. My username is Randwiches. I'll be back next Wednesday again at 5 p.m. Eastern. My guest next week is going to be Mark Kleback, the owner and proprietor of Wonderville, an arcade bar in Brooklyn, which is very exciting. We're going to talk about games and food and maybe rant about Cuomo's food restrictions during the pandemic, but it should be a good time next week. So thank you all for being here. Don't forget to send me your cooking photos for next week's show, but we'll see you again here on Attack the Pantry at 5 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. Bye, everybody. See ya.
Yeah.